Hi, everyone. My name is Astrid Kriniwan. I'm the Senior Market Access Analyst at Informa Pharma Intelligence. Welcome to another edition of Coronavirus TV, where today I'd like to talk about Remdesivir and potential pricing scenarios. Dr. Anthony Fauci stated late in April in a press conference that Remdesivir has resulted in a 31% reduction in hospital length of stay from 15 days down to 11 days, as well as an almost statistically significant gain in mortality of over placebo of about 8% versus 11.6%. And since then, the FDA has approved Remdesivir for emergency use for severe COVID-19 patients earlier this month. And as Gilead inches closer to approval, more discussions are really taking place with regards to the potential pricing for the drug. Now, Gilead has already allocated about 1.5 million doses that they are donating, which is probably enough to treat around 140,000 patients. But, in terms of talking about pricing, we really hope that this takes into account key topics, right, such as affordability and accessibility, while allowing also the manufacturer to be rewarded for the innovation and the production of the compound in the backdrop of this pandemic. So how do we balance the two? Well, Gilead's investment this year alone has been about $1 billion, and it's been mostly dedicated to scale-up manufacturing. But the taxpayers and the government has also contributed additional dollars. We know that the NIH has allocated $23 million towards its COVID-19 Remdesivir trial. Taxpayers have also provided approximately another $50 million to the cost development of the drug. And additionally, the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases did some of the early in vitro and animal studies with the medicine prior to that pandemic. So recently, the Institute for Clinical and Economic Review, or what's called ICER, which is a nonprofit organization that analyzes and makes determination of cost effectiveness of drug prices, they issued a report on Remdesivir to analyze potential pricing scenarios. And ICER based their analysis on two types of calculations. One being the cost production, meaning that it's about the cost to produce the ingredient, such as the API and the excipients, versus the cost effectiveness, which is the benefit that the drug has in treating COVID-19. And so with the cost to produce method, the company did take into account 4 factors: the minimum cost of producing the final finished product, the research and development costs by the innovator, as well as the research and development costs provided by the government. And then the 4th is the additional profit beyond the cost of recovery. Now, the initial analysis did not believe that there was a cost to research and development, as the drug was developed initially for hepatitis C prior to coronavirus, and that any R&D sunk cost from Gilead would have been recouped by Gilead's success in the hepatitis market. Based on this model, the price of one 10-day course of Remdesivir for one COVID-19 patient is set at $10. Now, in the second model, which is the cost effectiveness model, this is about the benefit of the drug that it brings, such as lengthening or improving a person's quality of life. And this involves starting with a cost effectiveness threshold, which is the ratio of cost divided by the quality added life year. And this means that the drug is cost effective only if it is priced at or below the cost effectiveness threshold. And usually, ICER uses a threshold of about 100,000 to 150,000 per quality added life year. But in this scenario, the drug is tested at a lower cost effectiveness threshold of about $50,000 per quality added life year. And I assume this is to account for the fact that this is a pandemic and an unprecedented public health emergency. Now, based on this calculation, ICER estimates that there's a cost effectiveness price of about $400 for the scenario in which there is no mortality benefit of using Remdesivir, but that there is this shortening of hospital stay. Whereas a $4,500 would be cost effective if it is turned out that the Remdesivir does have this mortality benefit in addition to adding on or reducing the hospital stay. So the likelihood is that the price will sit somewhere between the $10 and the $4,500 mark. And it is important to note that ICER is usually conservative when estimating their pricing. So other Wall Street analysts believe that pricing could be upwards to around $10,000, and reasoning that this is in line with other drugs that actually do confer mortality benefit. So now I want to kind of just step back a little bit to understand what cost savings might be gained if we were to use remdesivir for the severe inpatient population. So there's a study by the Kaiser Family Foundation among large employer plans that estimate the cost of inpatient admissions for pneumonia with major complications or comorbidity is about $20,000. That cost rises up to $34,000 for patients that need to use a ventilator up to about 4 days. And then that cost goes up even more to about $88,000 for patients with ventilator support of 4 days or more. And so even for patients who don't require ventilator support, but who have these major complications or comorbidities, a 31% reduction in hospital stay roughly translates to about $5,000 in hospital cost savings, an almost break-even point if remdesivir does have this mortality benefit. And at the price of $400, if the drug only shows this reduction in hospital stay, we can clearly see that the drug would be a tremendous cost in savings. Now, we don't know yet what the price of remdesivir will be. We're still waiting results from the ACT trial as well as Gilead's own clinical trials, especially the one that's in the moderate patient population, which could really determine and change the price, especially if it is approved for a broader patient population. So we need more inputs to give better clarity into the cost-effective price for this drug. But I do want to point out that what we do know that's critically important is that this price is fair and accessible. And as setting up the price for remdesivir itself is also setting up the price and the benchmark for future COVID-19 treatments. Pricing it too high could mean that it's a public relations nightmare for pharma as an industry. And this risks perpetuating the pandemic, right? As affordability and access will become issues across the world. But if you price it too low, this will hamper the incentives necessary pharma companies need to continue to work as hard as they have been with regards to finding therapies and potential cures for COVID-19. Remdesivir may be the first drug to conceivably be approved for COVID-19, but it should not be the last, as this drug is not a cure-all. We need pharma to continue to find more effective cures and to be rewarded for those efforts and to be rewarded for the value that the drugs bring forth. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great day and stay safe.